What's up, everybody? So this is just the very beginning of a very sort of complicated and long idea, but the basic idea of it is that, of course, there are several different types of civilizations, right, that we could be. You've heard this before. Type civilizations, type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. It's the Kardashev scale. And the Kardashev scale is kind of a method of measuring a civilization's level of technological advancement based on the amount of energy it's able to use. The measure was proposed by the Soviet astronomer Nikolai Kardashev in 1964. The scale is hypothetical, but it's something that a lot of people use in a hypothetical to measure where humanity is or where a civilization is. Right now, we're at about a 0, and I forget the exact amount, but on the scale, the 0 is moving upwards. And we're not quite halfway there to a 0.5, I think, but we're on our way to a possible type 1 civilization. And we'll go through all the civilizations at maybe at a later time or quickly down the line, but what we're getting at here is how could we propel ourselves to a type 1 civilization or a type 2 civilization? And part of that, I think, lies in quantum computing and artificial intelligence and AI in computers and in computing, because I'll explain that in a second, because this all came to me because I was thinking about time travel. And the idea of time travel, potentially time travel may not be possible to the past until we create time travel. So we may never be able to go back. This isn't 100%, but we may never be able to go back to 1995 or 1900s. But if we create time travel in the year 2050, we will be able to go back to the time 2050, and we'll be able to go infinitely into the future, potentially. But does that create a side dimension, side loop, or crosshair in the universe or just to ourselves, or does it affect everyone else's universe? That's where I sort of bailed on thinking about that, and then popped into my head that we will use a computer simulation to create future inventions to solve problems and potentially rapidly grow towards a type 1 civilization. And that's what this episode is about. Stay tuned. There was no beginning. There will be no end. Where there is darkness, light may follow. Beyond our comprehension of space and time, and everywhere else we don't know about, lies infinite possibilities, infinite worlds, ideas, dreams and realities, discoveries waiting for us to find them, doors waiting to be unlocked. There are explorations out there waiting for us. These are the explorations of an open mind. Welcome to the Infinite Universe. So we're going to use computer technology, in my opinion, to further ourselves into maybe a type 1 civilization. So at some point, we're going to use computers to think for us, right? Imagine if we could put the most brilliant minds, right? The most brilliant minds we've ever known or that we currently have, right? The most brilliant people, the most brilliant 1,000 people into a computer simulation where all of their thoughts, all of their memories, all of their beliefs are put into that system to freely think and to think on their own. And they're allowed to grow, to advance, and to expand, and to simulate, like you would simulate a computer game or a civilization, or simulate like your whatever it is, like you're playing roller coaster. What am I, 1990 roller coaster tycoon? You're playing GTA or roller coaster world or Civilization, the video game, and it can easily simulate in 30 seconds to 5 minutes a whole world and jump ahead, right? We will use those sort of simulations to play out in a advanced computer system with AI. We already have AI right now that can sort of think for itself and start formulating opinions and ideas. We have AI where you can say, computer, draw me a picture of space, and it will draw you a picture of space. You can say, computer, draw me a picture of space, but it's demonic, sad, and dark. And then the computer will formulate that. And then you can say, well, I like that, but now formulate it if it was even darker and there was blood everywhere, and then it could do that. And now take what I just said and create 6 different images, but all different from each other in different ways, but make it a little more happy. You could sort of do all these things right now. Right now, AI is doing those things. They're using AI for that. So AI is learning, AI is growing, and it's growing with our brain power and also with the ability to sort of think for itself and create on the fly. There's a whole bunch of other words that I'm not throwing out there that I want to use to describe this, but we've seen it. And this is the year 2022, right? So if we advance 5, 10, 15, or 20 years more into the future, this could be the beginning of this. We're seeing Google learning stuff from us, learning our habits, and also predicting trajectories of things. We know that AI physically can help, right? In cars, it can anticipate anything in an instant. You could literally throw a tennis ball at a car, and if the car had the capability, it could shoot the tennis ball down, right? Or if you if you drove a car at another car head on, the car may swerve or stop. Or you drove out in front of a car with AI, it will stop, it will slam, it will move, it will anticipate things. It may launch safety procedures in the car when it's an imminent strike. These are things that we can do right now, in cars, and that we are doing, and the things we're doing with rockets. So the idea that we would take a supercomputer, and this is stuff that we have thought about in the past, in the 50s and the 60s and 70s, but the idea that we would take a supercomputer and we would let a simulation play out, much like how some people believe we are in a simulation right now, and we're actually moving around and operating and thinking, and that we're in a simulation, and somewhere out there are aliens or other beings that are using us to find solutions to things that we don't even know about through some sort of a experiment or simulation that we're in. We would actually be doing that. Artificial intelligence and actual intelligence of real humans being involved in this simulation to help it grow. And this could potentially help us come up with breakthrough ideas, solve problems, and create these and solve problems that are so massive that scientists haven't even been able to figure it out yet. You wouldn't just have 8 or 15 or 50 scientists sitting down at a table to discuss how they could solve something. You would have thousands and millions of calculations operating in a simulated world to try to come to those results and come up with those instances. And then you would have hundreds, if not thousands, of scientists dialed into this sort of computer system that would be looking for these answers and looking for these equations to try to convey them that, hey, they've figured it out. They've solved the problem of how we could possibly, utilize space travel or, cure cancer instantly or quantum, date things in a certain way, or, create nanotechnology that functions in the bloodstream in the half a second that wouldn't affect heart rate, whatever the problem is. You know what I mean? The equation would be typed into the computer, and the computer would go off into creating and simulating potentially the results. I am obviously far too dumb myself and not smart enough to come up with more of these ideas. But to expand upon these ideas would be wonderful if we could get some experts potentially on the show to talk about them. But from the very beginning here, we will use computer simulations to create future inventions, solve problems at a rapid pace, right? The idea is that this could be done at a rapid pace. So within a week, we could have computer simulations running and growing, and worlds simulating and growing to the point where they may solve a problem. Some people out there could probably argue that no matter how good a simulation is, no matter how much information and memory you put into a simulation, into a computer program, into a computer world, into a virtual computer world, it still won't be as accurate and possible to solve even basic situations, because if we can't solve it here, we are the sum of what's in the computer simulation still can't be smarter or more inventive than its creator, right? So that is the opposition to this whole idea. Is, yes, we could get a supercomputer and simulation to potentially help us with calculating many things to a dead on, right? Computer simulations in a simulated world running that could help us create better accuracy for surgeries and things like that. Run the simulation in the simulator thousands of times as an AI instead of a human, because an AI will be more accurate. And then have the AI make all the mistakes a human could make, and thousands of them, and then it could sort of take that information and create and draw out the perfect way for the surgery to go. Yes, that might be possible. But will it be possible for this sort of virtual world and computer simulation to pontificate or create or theorize theories that we have that haven't yet been realized or executed, or to come up with equations or to cure problems or issues we really have? Because if we don't know the answer to them, how could the computer grow to theorize and eventually actually technically kind of be smarter than us? However, if we are putting ourselves into this system and thousands of smart, brilliant minds have been put into the system and are simulating and theorizing and growing, then is that not also us? So we are technically the system and the simulation isn't smarter than us. We are the simulation. We are taking ourselves and enhancing the power of us inside of this computer simulation. Therefore, we did use our ingenuity to create and theorize and rapidly come up with solutions to the future, to possibly moving on from a type 1 civilization to a type 2, or a type 0 as we are now, to a type 1 and type 2 in the future. This is the basic idea of what I'm talking about and what I'm bringing up. This could be a 5-hour podcast, but I wanted this video and this podcast to just sort of be the beginning of the theory and the idea of what would happen if we put the most brilliant minds, brilliant thoughts, brilliant calculations, and the ability for AI to grow, learn, and simulate in a rapidly paced computer environment, a quantum computer potentially, that could grow and expand, that we could view and learn from and utilize as we grow as a species here on Earth. Is that something that's possible? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if this is interesting to you, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. And please leave comments about what you think about this. How could this happen? How could it not happen? When will it happen? And what are your beliefs on everything that I sort of just spilled out in about 15 minutes here? Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.